to her. And those are the layers. And when you look at those layers being stripped away and there was nothing left after that, that would have been her own trigger, that they would have said, well, actually, this is the trigger. You can either have a phrase or you can have a directive. So nowadays, I think that they're using directives rather than phrases, because in my day it was phrases. I think the directive was, when you lose access to your children, your babies, then that's it for you. And I think with everybody, with her losing everything, being trolled and but I think the bottom line was, the straw that broke the camel's back would have been when she knew she had the court case coming up and she lost her babies. She lost custody of her babies for whatever reason. That would have been the trigger, in my view. That's what I think has happened, is the level of, you know, the directives and the commands. That's what I think has happened. And because of that, she would have seen no other way out and then left.
Yeah, well said. They are very clever as to how they go about doing these things, without leaving a trace. So was MK Ultra involved? So two of the key components of MK Ultra are childhood trauma and substances. We don't know the exact cause of death yet on Virginia, but I'm going to bet that substances were involved. We definitely know there was years and years of childhood trauma, the R word in, the SA in, from that horrific predator that came into life before Giuffre. Now, a good book to read about MK Ultra is Chaos, about the Manson family, whereby they were doing tests on rats and mice and giving them like hallucinogenics and stuff, and they, you know, watching the way they socialize. But they noticed that if they gave them hallucinogenics and meth, then the rats and mice started to gang R word, cannibalize, and do all of these really dark things. So the government wanted the hippie movement to become something dark in the public eye, to create some kind of scandal. And Manson was let in and out of prison, in and out. He had a pass. That's why we know the government was, you know, it was a government experiment. So Manson did that with his followers. He had them on the hallucinogenics and the meth, and look what happened. They went and killed all of those people. So I think, yeah, MK Ultra techniques. She might not have been from MK Ultra, but MK Ultra techniques. Regarding the next one, Ghislaine and Andrew off the hook in the public eye, I think temporarily it puts them back in the public eye, but in the long run, it protects a lot of other people who she could possibly have named. And I don't know much about her husband, but Kirby Summers has said she's going to come on at 6 o'clock tomorrow. So she knows a lot, and we'll put that question to her. Right, I am going to go to karate. There's 36 questions pending in the starred column. Can you access all those, Beverly?
Yeah, I can see them.
Okay, great.
Do you wanna go off to your karate?
Yeah,
and I'll do the 36 questions.
You got free reign until Ron comes on at 8 with John Wedger, so not take your sweet time.
I'll get through the 36 questions for you, Shaun. I didn't think we thought that we would have so many questions. But
by the time you get through 36, there'll be another 50, I guarantee it.
Oh my word! All right, enjoy karate. All right.
Good luck, man. Please support Beverly's links in the description.
Karate chops. Have karate chops for me. Why not?
Got to be careful about these people coming for us, haven't we? All right.
Bye. Well, yeah. Bye. Oh my lord! Right, let me go. I'd have to try and work out where Shaun got to. So I'm afraid you're just stuck with me now. Right, I'm gonna make this a bit. No, I don't want that one. I don't want that one.
If you all the 36 that are still there, I haven't done any of them. I've just deleted.
You haven't done any of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go. I'll go to the top. There we go. I've got it. Lioness Lou. There we go. I've picked up where you finished, and then I'll unstar the thingamabob at the top. So pardon me if I press the wrong button, because you know technology and me not the greatest. Lioness Lou, wish I could understand this. Can it happen via parents? It depends. I think it's doubtful, because don't know many parents that would know how to install, without significant harm, how to install a kill switch or command. It is possible to embed commands and some sort of a phrase or directive, so that is possible. But unless the parents are involved with you know, the fixer clan, which is what they are, they're fixers around the world, that everybody knows how to get hold of a fixer if they want, and to order what they particularly want, and they know the code words, and it's absolutely common out there. It's just the way that it is. So if it was happening via the parents, then the parents would be the handlers, or agree to have a handler with some of the fixers. But it is possible, but to that level, it's not usual. In my day, in the 70s, it's not usual in my day, Lioness. I hope that sort of kind of answers it for you. This one here, thought she was in a car wreck. Yeah, I think she had a minor car accident before she was unalived. And we've got, I think I've got to press a button. Hold on, let me do that quick. There we go. Oh, I did it. Oh, look at that. It does work. I think we did speak about Herman. We did ask his, and let's have a look at this one. Does it come up? Oh, it did. Okay, a good question. Wondering if there's any way to override the kill switch, maybe healing and integrating. Yes, I think integration is good, and I've been very lucky in as much as I've done a lot of light work and done a lot of soul searching and looking for those entities that were around the people that were outside the water when they were doing what they were doing. I've got to be careful what I say, obviously. And so we get another question saying, how is the kill switch detonated or activated? So when the trigger is placed, there's either a phrase or a set of words, and it's said in a particular very, very low tone, and it's a set of low tones. And in my case, it was a male voice. It's not always the same for everyone. If it's a male person, if it was a young lad, they would use a female person. But it's usually that voice, it's that particular voice in that tone, and they make sure they either walk past you and whisper it in your ear, or there's a phone call, or alternatively there's different ways that they can get to you. I mean, I've known of somebody that was in a communal bathroom at an airport, and the person that was in the loo behind them had sent something specifically and that person was a so-called cleaner, which was obviously a fake cleaner, and that person just went completely blank, and that was the end of that, and we didn't see her again, unfortunately. That was at a train station as well. There was one at a train station. She came out, and that had happened, and I think that was because she was going to, I think it was to party conferences, from what I remember, and two of her jobs had been extremely high profile people, very high profile people, and I had become quite friendly with her because we ended up being sent out to jobs at the same time, and unfortunately she didn't make it, and she'd unalived herself. So, and that's it. They can get you as long as you can hear that particular level of activation in those days, in 1973, later. Nowadays, I think it's different. I do think they're able to do things like you know, I'm not sure whether it's written or whether it's voice recording or whatever it is. I think they have got different ways now in which to get to you. They do. So that's a good question. All right, this one here. Thank you, Michelle. How would they communicate the kill switch to me? So what they, for mine, would have to be, it's a vocal verbal. All of my commands that were instilled in me were vocal. They didn't use music at all. That's not what I recall at all. They were all verbal, vocal, male voice, and that's how it was communicated. And it could be communicated telephonically, it could be through a broadcast, it could be, you know, if I'm walking down the street or something, they say something, walk past me and say something, or someone comes up and says hello and then shakes my hand and says something. It could be anything like that. But it was never, I never had music, because they do use that too. And I never had any of the others. I only ever had a verbal vocal male voice. That was how they were communicating it to me. I hope that answers it, Michelle. And then we've got this one, Hardwater Gaming. That's an interesting title. If Virginia had a kill switch, surely they would have switched her off before the accusations. So it depends on what the remaining level of detail of information was that she had within her that she could have gone public with, because obviously there was nothing left that they could have taken from her. They took basically her marriage, and they took her children, her babies, as she had said, and there wasn't really anything left. So it depends really what was she remembering, what could she remember, what else did she have. So I think Hardwater, you're trying to say that maybe they would have used the switch before she started with the accusations. Possibly she would have, maybe they would have used the switch beforehand, and then everything else would have been avoided. But historically, I think that what came out was part of acceptable damage, particularly with those that she was able to bring to justice, and those that she was able to sufficiently embarrass. I think that they were the fall guys. I'm guaranteeing you, Hardwater Gaming, the higher ups were never ever going to be implicated, and I think maybe this was the only way that she could have gone now, which is possibly why the things have ended up as sad as they have right now. Right, that's it. Bev, abundantly empowered. Do you know or suspect? I think we've answered that one. I'm just going to mark it as entered. Right, this one. This is Susie Ashton. Beverly, could you see the dismembered body parts after the bomb, or was it just darkness? If you didn't protect yourself, how do you cope with the trauma of it? No, we couldn't see any of those in the tunnels. It was there was very, very little light. It was hardly any light, actually. It was more smoke than anything else. And we had, at the top of the carriage, we had these piddly little, stupid little, like, strip lights. They were quite useless. And I still had those old sort of flip phony things. So when I woke up, I was looking for that so I could see. I couldn't see very much. All I could see was this fuzzy, wuzzy, smelly, you know, it was quite, it looked a bit like a bonfire, but not. It smelled like that too, but it smelled very, very tinny, very chemically, not like a bonfire, but you had the smoke. Couldn't actually see anyway, except for these stupid little lights. we did see everybody was all over on the floor and around and that, and there were people that were sitting on the floor and others sat on the floor. I managed to grab some of my things and was holding on as well. My face was very, very warm, very, very warm. And there were some people that were praying, and there were lots of different, I recall different voices coming out of the grayness. It wasn't pitch black. It was sort of gray because of these silly little strip lights, which are useless anyway. But you get it was kind of a bit surreal because it was dark, but then you had this yellowy, funny, whitey, yellowy hue at the top that was coming down into the carriage, and sort of everything was all over the place. And then people were praying, and then I heard some Greek people praying in Greek as well, and I heard a couple of other people as well. And I think everybody at the time was, in the darkness or partial darkness. We were all just wondering whether we were going to get out of there. And we kind of got to the point where we'd made peace with the fact that this could be the last, and we made peace with the fact that maybe we weren't going to get out of there, because they did take a while. And there was a guy at the end of the carriage, and where the window goes down, the two windows between all the carriages, they were sending messages through there, and then we'd hear, is anybody coming? No. Has anybody heard anything? No. Is there a fire? No. And then I turned around to somebody else and said, this isn't a fire, this is an explosion. And then we realized, we thought, well, we don't know what the tunnel's like, we don't know what the damage is. And then we didn't hear anybody coming, we didn't know. And it took a long time before somebody had said, they're coming. They could see something at the end of the tunnel, they could see somebody coming down. So yeah, in the tunnel, we just felt that was it. We kind of made peace. Personally, I thought about what I had done in the morning. I was getting ready to go to a meeting because I was serving on with a consultancy company in London. We just won the London Olympics, and we were the organization that was putting together the security team, and I was working on that at the time. And I had in my mind, I thought about my children, I thought about my partner, had I said everything to everybody. I literally went through like a list of everything, thinking, I'm not getting out of here. Have I done everything? Does everybody know where to find everything? My grandson was on his way. He hadn't been born yet. What were they going to say to my grandson when he was born? All those things are going through your mind when you're sitting there, and you kind of feel, is this it? And I was thinking, is this it? And then I kind of feel maybe it's not it. We just have to wait. We couldn't go anywhere. We were in the train, in the tunnel. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't do anything. We just had to wait in the partial darkness. So yeah, and we did have to protect ourselves, but I think the only thing we could do was pray. And there was a whole mixture in the train. There was a whole mixture of faiths, people, different types of praying. Thankfully there were no children on the train. Thank God there were no children on the train. So we all just prayed in our own way, did what we needed to do in order to wait to see whether they were going to come for us, whether emergency services were going to come for us. And we had a long wait. We did. It was longest wait ever. It felt like days. It wasn't days, but it felt like days. So I hope that answers your question. And I just need to do that. Francesca is saying, was it a coincidence that you were a victim in the bombings, or do you think it was on purpose? It's a very interesting question, Francesca. I think for me it was part of my soul path and my soul plan that at some point that the 9 years that I was an SRA person, now a survivor that's gone from tragedy to triumph. I think it was necessary for me to go through that, because otherwise I might have gone through most of my life not realizing that there was all of this stuff that was buried that I hadn't even looked at, and was none the wiser. I still had my abilities. I was working, and I'd written my first book already by that time, and that was published in 1990. It's a long time ago, and that was sort of finding your cosmic connection. That was all about esoteric and metaphysics and being psychic and all those good things. So I would have just not known. So clearly it was meant for me, Francesca. I think I was meant to survive the bombings and go on and do something very different with my life, which is what I'm doing now. So I think it wasn't a coincidence. I think it was meant to be. It's how I look at it. I hope that answers the question. So we've got another one. Okay. So it says here, if you didn't protect yourself, i.e. always wearing black and white, crystals, etc., what would happen to you? Don't think. Would they totally be able to control you? I don't believe that they would be able to control me at this late stage. I think I'm too old, and next big birthday is creeping up the hill towards 70. So I'm not valuable to anybody anymore. I'm not valuable to those groups. And from 1973 to now, it's a very, very long time. And most of the people that are on my list of steamers of people that were serviced on jobs that I went on, in all fairness, most of them are very, very old men by now, and I don't think they're particularly of interest to anyone. So why would they bother? Why would they bother to control me? Why would they bother? For what reason? I don't make them money. And even if my list that is with somebody who's trusted and with my solicitor, my lawyer, even if that list were to come out, half of the lists have already popped their clogs. They're already, pushing up the daisies. So, I'm not like Virginia, where Virginia still had individuals that were still very definitely kicking around and would have been jobs that she would have gone on, where these people are still in power. They're still very famous. They're still extremely well known. Because of my age, I don't think I'm particularly valuable to anyone, or valuable enough to spend the resources to control what I'm saying and what I'm doing. I'm not really that valuable to anyone. So I doubt it. I doubt very much whether they would bother with me. It's just the way I feel about that one. People's Poet. What can we individually do to help defeat this darkness? Oh, People's Poet, God bless you. That is so lovely. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. That's really kind of you. Thank you so much. I think individually, to help defeat the darkness is open your heart to understand that survivors went through what they went through. Survivors do not make up tales. Why would you want to make up a tale like this? Why? There's nobody would want to make up this horrific stuff. And I purposely gloss over things, because if I had to tell you all the deep stuff, you would just cry endlessly, because this is what these people do. So if you can, at least be that one person that a survivor can go to. Be that one person that can be the light in the dark, so that that survivor can go to you and say, oh, this is what happened to me. Please, can I talk to you? Be that person. Be that person that listens, and then try to help as best you can. And to defeat them is allow yourself to realize, open your eyes and see what's around you. Check out children. see all the signs. If there's a child that really doesn't want to go with somebody, that's throwing a tantrum and doesn't want to go with somebody, be that person that will go up and say, is that child your child? Why is that child doing that? Why is that child so upset? Is there a reason for it? You're going to get backlash. Yes, you will. You'll have a parent that will say, you know, butt out. This is my child. This child is just throwing a happy fit and being annoyed, etc. But what if one day you go up to somebody for a child that is really pushing and scraping and screaming and crying? What happens if you go up to somebody and that person is actually taking a child that isn't their child? Be that person that makes a difference. And, you know, don't be afraid to come forward and ask questions, because nothing wrong with asking questions. If you made a mistake, and I've done it personally, I have got into a lot of trouble before where I know what I saw, and I went up and I said to the parents, do you know that I've just seen this happen? And the grandparent was there, and she said, no, you must have seen wrong. I said, no, I know exactly what I saw. I know where his hands were. I know what I saw. I know where the hands were going. And yeah, they were really, really annoyed and said, I didn't see what I did see. So, but that's fine. You know, you can live with it. And then it just alerts everyone, because once you've sown the seed, people then are awake. They start looking, they're seeing things. So even if you can do that, thank you for that question, the People's Poet. And I'm so pleased that you would like to individually help, because I feel very strongly that you will be one of the people that will make a difference. Even if you just make a difference to one child and one person, that's one less for those lot to go and do all sorts of things with horrible people. Michelle, oh, that's a good question. Did the handlers give you any money? Well, they didn't give the money to me. No, the handlers always had the two big bouncers, and either they would get the money in the beginning of the job, and then if the job extended, the two big chaps that were always protecting their investment would then say, I've just got to go and ask the boss if we've got another job to go to, then you can't extend. But if we don't have another job to go to, then you can extend, but then you'll have to pay up. So usually they would give it to the big chaps, or they would give it to the handler. But sometimes, occasionally, the steamer on the job would give me directly a tip or give me some money, which I would then fold up and put away. And I won't tell you where I put it, but I would then take that money. I wouldn't tell them, because that was my getaway fund. And I would then take that out when I got back to the house. And then I had a little pouch, and I would put it in the pouch, and I hid it underneath the drawer. And it was there for a long time. That was my getaway fund. That was my escape fund. So no, the handlers never gave me any money, ever. Not once, not ever. Because they were always aware of how much was the job, how much were they getting, how much was extra time, how much cash did they have to have. And then they would have to, as handlers, they would have to go back and then go and speak to whoever the next person above was to say, that particular one today, how much did you make? How much cash have you got on you? Do you need to do a drop off? And that's what would happen. So there was no ways that would even have, you know, £5 or £10 or £2 or anything less than what the higher ups were expecting as far as the handler. The handler had to give the money and take their cut and give the money to the central individuals. So no, I only ever got given extra money by the steamers, by the person I was servicing. And it wasn't, you know, wasn't always. That's why it took a long time to get the escape fund sorted. Ruth M. Would a therapy like EMDR be able to help with the kill switch. I did try EMDR once. I must admit I didn't find it very helpful. I didn't find it that it even did anything for me, quite frankly, at the time. So I don't know whether it would. I would imagine maybe today, and EMDR was when it first started quite a few years ago. I would imagine nowadays they're probably a lot further along with new people, maybe with complex PTSD. I'm not sure. I can only say for me personally, the EMDR that I went through actually didn't do anything for me at all. No, but I think for other people, as long as the EMDR practitioner knew how to do whatever's necessary using EMDR to remove the kill switch,